builds, 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 builds. All right, now that YouTube has definitely demonetized this one, let's get into Roast Your Builds episode 6. Feels good to be back. This is the series where we take your builds, the community votes on which ones get featured, and we rate or roast them. So far, you guys have been on a pretty good streak with killer builds. And this week is no exception. So I think we should get into it right now. And our build in 10th place comes from Purged. And this is a beautiful Mogadishu build, but not the typical Delta build that we've seen on the channel. Here is Purged real Mogadishu Army Ranger Colt 727 clone. And boy, is this thing stunning. In fact, it has a lot of the hints and notes that, such as it being a 727 to begin with, but the light on the barrel. He has an original Colt M16 A2 727 carbine upper with an A2 flash hider, an MGW carry handle optic mount, this is the long version, and an original Aimpoint 3000 with the cone adjustment knob, which is something that was seen with the Rangers over there. He's rocking an original Surefire 660, a Colt N1 stock, a bad M16A2 clone lower, bad attitude department, not actually bad, it's pretty good. And now you've got a Colt Silent Sling on it, which isn't pictured, but it rounds out the overall look. And my God, this thing had 16 votes, but it should have had way more. I have no notes, no questions, it's just a beautiful, fantastic build. And Purged, you killed it, nice job, 10 out of 10, start us off strong. And boy, do we have some Ranger fans here because Grim sends in another Ranger build. But this one's not from Mogadishu. In fact, it's a relatively current one. And this is a Mark 46 build. Here, you're rocking the H&K Heavyweight base with a Holy Warrior EOTech, an Element Peck Box, a Repro M600, and an LBX Sling. And I don't know what else there is to say other than, yep, it's a Ranger build. When I was at the last Milsim West event, I was rocking with the Ranger guys. I was with KVB, of course, but we were in their platoon attached to them. And yeah, I think I saw a couple of these and they absolutely rip. If you built yours out to the specs that I've seen, which I'm sure you have because A&K LMGs need some work as far as I know, then I'm sure this thing is a beast to run. It's not necessarily my flavor. I will say though, I'd run it over an M249. The cheaper plastic Element Peck Box is standing out as a little bright and fake compared to the rest of it. I mean, the Holy Warrior optic you've got is beautiful, like that looks solid. Maybe getting a Somo Gear Peck Box or roughing that up a little bit will help elevate it to a little bit more realistic. So nice job overall. I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10 for me. What the? Okay, this is the... You know how I hate on AK builds? This one, I think, deserves all the hate that it's gonna get. From me. You guys might like it, and I know Creamy probably likes it too. He had 19 votes on this build, and guys, just look at this. What is this? I can confidently say I've never seen an AK build that's like this. I've seen them with shovel handles on the back, with cheese graters wrapped around the front of it, but something like this is unique. It's a custom VFC AK-105, which they don't make at the moment, so you had to cut down an AK-74M, so ingenuity points already there. You replace the gas block with a PSA combo block, and as you note, you wanted to find a middle ground between modern, comfortable rifle and yeah, the rifle is fine. Because to you and to many people, that's what makes an AK an AK. In fact, that's the only AK I have. It's a Romanian style build. Builds! And I think, as you said, you hit the mark pretty spot on. But you've got an LCT DTK-2, an APS Firearms cheese grater, an LCT Ames lower wooden handguard dong that was cut, an Atero arms rail mount, a Novus MDS3, and a B5 Systems AK pistol grip. You put together a build that definitely gets those unique points. I don't think I have ever seen anything that would look like this in the real world, and I've seen some pretty outlandish builds, but you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the AK that they put in Andor. Everyone was like, oh my God, they just have an AK for the rebels in Star Wars. And truthfully, yeah, it's the AK style blaster in the Star Wars universe, and this looks like it. That reminds me of it. It's a weird build, Creamy. I don't know why you got 19 votes, but you made it in here. Definitely, I'm gonna stick with my 4 out of 10. And the next build comes from Guardian, and this is almost after my own heart. This is a modernized G36K, almost like a G36K A4, but with a couple other modifications. In fact, it kind of is a G36K4, but you changed out the top rail, which I like these ones. Let's talk about it. You've got a VFC G36K, gas blowback, already bonus points there. An LLM01 Repro, an AFG, and the KAC style riser rails. This is something that was kind of popularized by the Grand Thumb video when he did his G36 stuff years ago, I think. And for some reason I saw more people put those on their G36 airsoft builds. What I really like is the Spectre optic with an RMR up top. I think that totally counteracts the lightweight rail that you went for. Like, it's bulky, it's big, it's obnoxious, but it kind of works in the opposite way. It's like a yin and a yang thing. Overall, Guardian, it's not a standard G36K4 build, and it's one that has a couple unique flavors to it. So I can appreciate that, and I like the work that you did for it. I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10, only because it seems like you're counterbalancing. I don't know, maybe if you're compensating, meeting in the middle, but it's just, it's interesting how big of an optic you put on something that's meant to be a lot more minimalist. Oh my gosh, I'm just realizing, that one had 20 votes. The next one has 20 votes, and the one after it has 20 votes. But this is a set of, I don't even want to spoil it. This is a set of airsoft things that are identical almost, like in their generic function, but different versions, and they both ironically have the same number of votes. So let's mash them together. These are both rocket launchers. The first one comes from the Holy Cell, and this thing is beautiful. What you did is you took a real Law A7 and converted it to shoot tag-ins, which is super cool. Those are like one-shot things and you just ditch the tube or stow it. The fact that you took a discarded tube and get it to be repeatable in use is really cool. It's some recycling. But the only thing that you note that is not original is the striker. It fires the tag-ins from the rear and it looks original otherwise. And that's a beautiful thing. I think you did a great job on this. But the other one, I think, takes the cake a little bit more for me. And it's just because you don't see these too often. This one comes from Moltlock, and you have an RS HG-1, or the Holy Truba, custom made by Juggernaut for the ARF unit. What that means? No clue. But you have this also chambered in 40 mic, either really old tagging or the modern Pyrosoft shells, which I'm not familiar with. Maybe it's a European thing. But you note that the min range is 10 meters, the max range is 250 meters. That's just insane. If this thing, I'd love to see a video of this thing rocking. And one of the pictures that you sent is really cool. You see the explosion come right out of the barrel. You said that you have a used tube, an original sling, an additional Miltech 2-point sling because the original one sucks even more, a 20 centimeter inner barrel, an ignition board, which was very, very custom made, and together it makes this absolute beauty. This is just a really cool thing. And not to take away from the other one that the Holy Cell made, but this is unique. I don't know what it's from, but it's cool. I think the cute little paint job you have on there too is kind of neat. Forgive me for calling it cute. It's just, you know, just little yellow patches. And now we get to a stunner. One that is so near and dear to my heart. Made out with 21 votes coming from Spark15 on his Instagram. And this is a base Ares G36K. But externally, he's made all the beautiful things that you want out of a KA4 build, including an EXPS, the H-Key slimline handguard with a rail, an IDZ stock, an extended bolt latch, HK flash hider, HK pressure pad mount, LLM-01, Magpul grip, and an ASG Rotex 3. You did a whole bunch of internal modifications, which we appreciate, and the only thing that you're missing is the extended mag release, and you know what? You can't even tell. Everything else you did with this build is fantastic. Couple things, you mentioned the mag release, which you're gonna change, I'm sure, but the only other thing is I'd get the different top rail. The one you have on here is seen with like some police units and all that, but it's not for the issued KA4. So a couple modifications of the body, and you can get the clutch precision one on there or something like that. Great job on this, Spark. You easy get an 8 out of 10 for it, and just because of those two little things. And before we get to the top 5, let me tell you guys how you can get yours in the next video. The next episode of this is coming out at the end of April, so you will have all of March to get your submissions in, and then we'll go for a couple weeks to get all of them voted on. Here's how it works. You send some pictures, preferably high quality ones, as well as a general build list. I don't want to know all the internals you have, just some of the external notable features. And you send that in my Discord, which is linked down below. Scroll all the way down there, go onto the Roast Your Build channel and post it up. The community, including yourself, will get to vote with the fire reactions for the roast series. And again, I'm going to need these submissions by April 3rd. As soon as April 3rd hits, these submissions are closed and it's just the voting period. But you can really vote anytime. So again, check out the Discord below and let's keep going for the top 5 builds of this episode, as well as a couple honorable mentions. Taking the 5th spot is one with 22 votes. So as you can tell, this middle portion is really, really close together. And this is coming from Vostok, and this is his LCT PKP. Not an AK build, and it's painted beautifully, so I can appreciate it a little bit more than I would otherwise. Here, you have an LCT Putnik, an Avengers B50 Repro, an LCT ZB-10M foregrip, a Midwest Industries optic rail, and a Matrix RCO Repro with RMR. And it all just blends together so well. I think the paint job you did on this is really nice in that when you look at this build, you can't pick out separate pieces and say like, oh yeah, there's that thing and that thing. It all looks like it was meant to be together. And I think that's a compliment to how well you put this all together. It looks aesthetically pleasing and functional and can't really argue with it. Is it something I would run? Probably not, because this looks obnoxiously heavy. But overall, it's nice. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10, only because again, personal preference, but it looks so functional and I can appreciate all the work that went into it. Nice job, Vostok. Thanks for sending it in. The next one was tied at 22 votes, but it took the cake a little bit more for me because it's pretty darn cool. This comes from WIP Research Group, and this is an APFG XM7. I think we've seen one of these in a previous episode, but my God, this thing just looks so cool. You're rocking the SIG MSR in tan, the Wadston Engall, the Wadston M600 on a Daniel Defense mount, a SIG SLX 556, which you mentioned you want to get the 6.8, but it's currently like $300 shipped, so you're waiting on that, which I understand. I know from a cloner's perspective that you want to get the right one, so hopefully you can soon. And then a Repro B5 crane stock. And you guys know how I like those tan MCXs more than the black ones? I think this also takes that point. It's very much future soldier of 2026. Like, I didn't even know they made an airsoft version of this, really. But I'm sure it was expensive, and you did a nice job putting it all together to something that looks functional and realistic. And really, in the Roast Your Build series, that's kind of what I look for. I love realistic looking things, but sometimes sci-fi fantasy stuff does work as well. Which, let's go on to the next one. Now, usually I don't allow a kit or anything else to influence the builds in Roast Your Build, but something about this just worked. And it was voted on by the community. It got 23 votes, taking the second place spot. And this comes from Foghorn 5. This is from a video game, and one that I actually know, so I got the references. It is from Left 4 Dead, and this is an Ellis overall impression. But the key thing here is the armament, particularly that M16A2. I love that you have the flashlight zip tied onto the side. I remember using a light in that game, and the Desert Eagle too. Like, it just takes me back to those high school days when I'd play it with my friends. The med kit and the boomer bile are nice touches, and I think you rock it very well. It looks like it works for your kit overall, or should I say your one-to-one impression. It's an M16A2. Can't really argue with how cool it is. Thanks for sending it in, Foghorn 5. Definitely a worthy spot for the number 2. And before we get to our first place winner, let's go through 2 honorable mentions. The first comes from King Snake Airsoft to be specific. Here, he sends in an MP9 and an MP7. The MP7 is from VFC, and the ASG MP9 is also a gas blowback, and I just think they're cool. I would love to run some of these sometime. But you note that you tried to set them up pretty identically, which you can definitely tell here. And then you've got a Delta-inspired build from Shift to Drift. This is based off of an ENC XM177, I'm guessing, with an Aimpoint M2 Comp Repro, which is very Black Hawk Down movie-esque, a VFC suppressor, a 3D printed QXL dive light, and a pretty cool rattle can paint job. It reminds me of the camo capes in the Forest Moon of Endor. And now, without further ado, let's kick it off with the number 1 spot, the winner that had 30 votes in this episode. And this is from I'm Dead. Clearly, he knows the meaning of his name, because he put together a beautiful VFC Scar H gas blowback. And sometimes a picture will help elevate what the build actually is. And I think your magazine style editing here definitely made people attracted to the picture and wanting to like it. Again, you got 30 votes. You blew the competition out of the water. But here you have a VFC Scar H, as we mentioned, with a Magpul K2, a PTS MREX 2 4.25 inch M-Lock, a Renegade ACR stock, and then some copies of Unity G45 magnifiers and all that. You've got a T-Eagle M6, a BCM gunfighter grip, a Wadston Engall, and a Sotac M600V. And my god, this thing is probably a tank that is so much fun to run. Just the clunk of the bolt, and you say you have this set up for CQB, which you can tell, like, this thing has to rock. It looks so streamlined and efficient, yet bulky at the same time, but in a very modern way, and that's why this is a clear 10 out of 10. I'm Det, you put together a beautiful build, and I love these magazine-style photos, so keep them coming. But anyway, that's enough yapping for me. This is the Gear.Locker. Again, this video is definitely demonetized by YouTube, so go check out the Patreon. I appreciate your support there all the time. We have weekly custom videos, as well as some live streams that we sprinkle in about once a month. Thank you guys. See you guys in the next one.